There's a recent video of Sachin Tendulkar on social media in which he's seen serving his mom a freshly cut mango. That video tells us so many things. It talks about a loving son, talks about an affectionate family man, talks about, of course, the greatest sports person this country has seen, and it also tells us one more thing. It talks about how simple this man is apropos of what his career has been like. Welcome, Sachin.
Thank you so much.
Today, as the master is on the brink of turning 50, we're going to talk about those little things and how he goes about doing them with simplicity day in and day out. Welcome to Network 18. Given your conversion rate, I'm wondering it's only a matter of time before you get to 100.
I hope there is DRS. On a lighter side.
So what has been going on, what I'm sure there are thoughts going on in your mind as 50 approaches, and what is it like?
I still don't feel like I'm 50, honestly speaking. I'd much rather put it differently. 25-year-old with 25 years of experience sounds better. It's been a wonderful journey. I have no complaints, no regrets. 24 years that I got a chance to play for a country has been a huge honor and a dream come true. That is all I wanted in life. I did not want to be anything else. From the age of 10, I started chasing my dream, and to be able to do that for 24 years, couldn't have asked for more.
But what is celebration like at 50? Like, what will Sachin Tendulkar be doing for celebration? A quiet family meal, probably sneak out with Anjali, or...
It's going to be a bit of surprise for me also. Forget about you, but me also it's supposed to be a surprise. No, I mean, there are not going to be big celebrations. I'm not a person of big parties and big celebrations and all that. I don't remember going over the top celebrating my birthdays. Yeah, I mean, call close friends and all that, that is fine. But not going over the top. So I'm sure this time also there'll be something planned, but not at a mega scale, just close friends.
Right. Let's talk about life post-retirement. The last 10 years. What have these last 10 years been like? From the outside, the way we've been tracking you, a few things obviously stand out. Your love for golf, which seems to be growing by the day, yes. And your penchant for driving seems to be the same. You love your cars, which we obviously get to follow on social media.
Yes.
And then the amount of time that you've been spending in the kitchen these days. The other day I saw you make mango kulfi and your eye for detail. And then the last thing is the kind of traveling that you're doing, exploring new places. We are getting to see different things. So what's happening? Talk about these 10 years.
No, 10 years I've done whatever I felt like, to be honest, because before that, when I was playing for India, then whatever the schedule was finalized, I had to work everything around that schedule. Now I have the comfort of planning my schedule. So I do that, and then the priority is obviously the family and friends. So important family occasions, those moments I don't want to miss, because there were occasions earlier when my children's birthdays, Sarah's birthday or Arjun's birthday, I wasn't there, and there's not much I could do, so I wanted to be there, but I was in some part of the world playing for India. So I was just hoping that, when they grow up, they'll understand that I was out and missed their birthday for a reason. So number of special occasions like that. But now things are different. I'm getting more personal time, family time, and other things, various commitments keep happening around that. And something which I've kind of always felt that I should be doing at a larger scale is, like I said, second innings of my life, I would like to bat for India. I want to continue doing that and score even more runs, by helping the less privileged ones across the country, and there is so much need. So we were doing that earlier as well, but what we have done, post retirement is we've kind of structurized that and identified certain areas, certain verticals where we would want to focus more. And the areas, three verticals are the health, education, and sports for children. So my foundation, Sachin Tendulkar Foundation, of course my name is there, but the captain of the ship is Anjali. Being a pediatrician, it helps because she thinks differently. She is extremely committed and extremely driven by this, because we all believe, we have a solid team, and we all believe that we are in a position to impact lives, though we keep pushing each other as much as we possibly can, and that is how we are going to produce results. So feeling happy about whatever has happened is good, but we are not satisfied, and that is how it was on a cricket field. We would want to continue that in the second innings of my life as well.
I still remember in your retirement speech you just spoke about the greatest partnership of your life, and I'm sure this is bound to kind of give the best results. Which reminds me, after retiring from the game, how long did it actually take you to kind of realize that, listen, I mean, I don't have to wake up and go to the nets. I mean, life has changed. Maybe it didn't happen the very next morning, right? So how long before you actually got used to the fact that you could slow down a bit?
See, my retirement was gradual. So it wasn't that, I suddenly retired and from tomorrow morning, oh, what do I do? Where do I go? It was never a situation like that. I first retired from ODIs, then I retired from IPL, and then I retired from Test cricket. And I always wanted that one big game for India. I didn't want multiple retirements, So just that one moment, and it came at the right time.
What a moment.
Playing a Test match for India, home ground, we won the game, and that victory lap was incredible moment. So I always used to wonder how would my last experience on the field would be, and I can't thank everyone enough, because that experience is something which has 10 years down the line we are still talking about it. And when I woke up the next morning, I have this habit of making my own tea and all that, either coffee or tea, whatever I feel like having. I did exactly the same. I sat at home and I was, it felt a little different. I don't need to now start preparing for the next series or the next match, whatever. I need not think about all those things. It did feel that way.
Sachin, those memories start rushing back. Tell me, that entire, what we saw, after the game got over, the presentation ceremony, all of that was impromptu, like all of that was happening real time? I mean, how much of that?
Actually, the match was first of all a 5-day game,
yes,
which didn't last 5 days. On the third evening itself, we were doing
yes,
this interview. And I still remember post-match presentation. I was down there along with my teammates and thinking that this is the last time I'm standing with the team. It's never going to happen again in my life. I'm never going to walk on the field as an active Indian cricketer. And I was in the dressing room. I said, if we have a press conference on the 6th morning, so 5-day test match, then we finish this function, and we had organized a press conference on 6th morning. So I said, 6th day, by then, 2 days would have passed. Right now, people would want to know my views and all that. And I should speak. So when the Star TV guy came to me, he said, the program is, the losing captain would be called, there would be man of the series, man of the match and all that, then they will call you, and then the winning captain, and then you guys, once the winning captain's interview is done, then you guys do a group photograph with the trophy. I said, what is my role in this? He said, you will be called. Ravi was going to interview me. He said, Ravi is going to ask you 3 questions. So I made a request there. I said, is it possible that I speak for some time rather than answering 2-3 questions? And I said, the field is yours. You can go and speak for as long as you want. I said, this time I'm not going to speak for 3-4 minutes. It may be a little longer than that, Though I mean,
until then
I
you had
ended
not,
up speaking for 20 minutes apparently.
and until that you were not prepared for anything that you were going to.
No, I more or less knew what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I'd written down the names because I didn't want to forget anyone. So I'd written down the names, and each person I kind of knew what I was going to say. But number of things happened there, and then I saw Saurav, Rahul, and Lakshman on
the
this
screen.
mega screen, and I spoke to them also through that. So those kind of things kept happening, but it wasn't planned. Everything was unplanned, and you know, it's just a message from up above that, you know, do it now, and I did that.
Okay, now the moment happened. You said the next morning you woke up and you made your cup of tea and you know, kind of, and then from there on, not picking up a bat and going to you know, even for fun. Like, how gradual has that process been? I'm sure you would have felt the urge like once a week at least to like chata hu thoda sa. I've seen this reel of yours where I think you're on a badminton court,
Yeah.
indoor, and you're
Yeah.
facing a tennis ball.
Yeah.
The shots are coming so beautifully, and I'm sure you would feel that urge, right? I mean,
We do that sometimes. We do it.
you go out and play once in a while, or is it more
Yeah,
golf?
we did that. I mean, golf, badminton, you know, all these kind of things. We friends get together and we do that. It's a lot of fun. Only on few occasions the camera is on. Otherwise, you know, we have our own space and we have a lot of fun.
What is it about golf? Like, does it satisfy your urge as a cricketer? The swing, the back lift, or kind of, does it give you that satisfaction?
It's more about spending time with your friends,
Okay.
and that is priceless for me. I cannot live without my friends. So, friends' time is important.
Okay, talking about,
So we friends get together, we play golf, you know, we have a good chat.
right.
All that family time is of course there, but I need friends to be around me as well.
Talking about friends, I remember this other reel which I'm becoming kind of, I should tell the viewers here that, you know, I've just fallen in love with the reels and I keep binge watching what he does. So there's this other reel of yours in which you are driving somewhere with a friend and you stopped by at a tea shop, at a roadside tea shop.
Yeah.
You had a cup of chai
correct,
there.
correct.
And what also I remember is Arjun is sitting behind the car. He's
Arjun was, yeah.
peeping above the door, looking at you like, Papai, what all are you doing? Kind of,
No,
you know.
we friends, we felt like having chalo yaar chai pite hain, and uske saath, you know, those naan katai biscuits. Said we'll have that. Brilliant spot to have. Nobody is expecting me here.
Right.
So we parked the car and we started having chai and all that. I went there. I asked for my chai and all that. It was good fun. So we were just driving, and you know, once we had recorded that, the last bit was camera on Arjun. Arjun is not fond of cameras, and so is Anjali. Sarah is okay, but Arjun is like, okay, leave me out of this, and that was his expression.
Yes, I remember that. But Sachin, you know, I was thinking about it also from the tea stall owner's perspective. For you, it is a matter of 5 minutes, but for him, you made his life. Like, kind of, he will think about it for the rest of his life that Sachin Tendulkar yahan aake ruk ke chai pee ke gaye. Like, you know, so does it like make you wonder like what a small gesture of yours, you know, is doing to a random outsider? And it's awesome. It's amazing. I mean, like, I would hope you keep doing that.
Satisfaction is mutual, because I get the satisfaction of chai and naan katai over there. So I am also happy, he is also happy. It works both ways.
Okay. Now, do you know what was the price of gold in 1995? 10 grams gold?
No.
4,300 rupees. 10 grams of gold. Today, the price of 10 grams gold is 57,000 going on 58. Okay. Why this is important is because in 1995, Sachin Tendulkar became the first sports person to professionally sign a contract with
World Health.
With World Health.
Yeah. With Mark Mascarenhas.
With
yeah,
Mark
yeah.
Mascarenhas.
Yeah.
The 1995.
And it happened through Ravi.
Right.
Ravi Shastri. I still remember we were in Sri Lanka at that time, and Ravi introduced me to Mark. Ravi said, here's my friend Mark, who's been wanting to meet you, and he has something to share with you. And then it was Ravi, Mark and I, three sat together, and that's where Mark made me that offer and said, why don't you just stay focused only on the game, and my company will manage the commercial side. So all the endorsements and contracts and whatever one had to sign, everything was vetted by Mark and his team. It was only done so that I could be totally focused on the game, because till that moment, yes, there were lawyers helping me, but my family was actively involved in that and then negotiating and all that. I mean, to be honest, I mean, we're not made for that. So, father a professor and a poet, my brother was interested in the right column of the scorebook. Not that account was more important than the bank account. Nobody was bothered literally, and what the bank balance is. How many runs have you scored? What has happened to the game? That was more important. So I don't think our strengths were to negotiate a contract or vet a contract. Not really. And we needed a team who could take away that headache from us, so that I could be focused only on the game. I was just going through somewhere, and I was told that in the last 100 years, only 305 people have played for the country. And so that means, on an average, only 3 people play for a country every year. So such a huge honor, such a massive privilege to represent the nation. I didn't want to divide my energy, that the energy needed to be only channelized on cricket and nothing else. And that was my family's thought process as well, which really helped. Mark was someone who, when it came to my practice sessions and my preparation, he did not interfere at all. He said, everything will happen around that. I'm not going to make you cancel your practice session so that you could shoot an ad. So it never happened where Mark was forcing me, aaj rehne do, you practice tomorrow, let's shoot this ad today. It never happened.
It's one of the most special relations you've had in life?
Without any doubt. Without any doubt. Mark was more like a family, I would say.
You're Jerry Maguire.
Mark was, see, he did not discuss numbers with me, to be honest, because he himself was such a huge fan of cricket, loved the sport from the bottom of his heart, and helped so many ex-cricketers as well. So he understood, I mean, because he followed cricket, he understood what are the things which are needed to represent a nation, and preparation becomes really important. If you are to deliver, if you're not prepared, how will you deliver? So he never interrupted that.
Wow. I was looking at the enormity of what happened in those years, and the value of gold is something that stuck in my mind. And I was thinking, we're talking about a time when there was no technology, no internet, nothing. I mean, you're talking about the cricketer who became the first person in India to sign a professional contract.
There was no internet and all that you mentioned, and that rings a bell. I mean, I'll tell you one story which I've not shared with many. In the first half of my career, I used to come back home from long tours with multiple video cassettes. And both me and my brother Ajit, we would sit together and go through each and every ball played on that tour. And then the areas where I did well were also marked, and the areas where I needed to make certain changes, those things were discussed. And that's why, I would kind of remember what has happened, because I have watched that multiple times. Though it has in reality happened only once there in the middle, but off the field we've sat together and watched that 50, 60 times. And those were the days, and that's why when you spoke about internet, YouTube and all that, nothing was there. Video cassettes were there.
Wow. Okay, I mean, these days, I was in fact telling a few colleagues as I was preparing for this interview, and we were discussing in office how these days we get press releases of brand endorsements and today's modern day, kind of celebrities, and then I keep going back to that maybe a simple soft drink commercial that you must have done in the 90s. the charm of those videos and that young Sachin that's stuck in the minds of not people who identified with you as a batter or as a cricketer on the field. And this I can tell you from personal experience, like, women in the house, children in the house, grandparents in the house, and how the simplicity of it all is has been spellbinding. Which in fact brings me to another incident, and this is something I want to understand from you, what you think about it. The Sachin Tendulkar growth story is so synonymous in many ways with the India growth story, and I'll tell you why I'm saying this. I'm sure people have spoken about this earlier also, but I'll just give you an example here. Sunil Gavaskar, when we were consuming Sunil Gavaskar, the batter, there was black and white TV at home, grainy television screens, right? We could never see his face under the floppy hat, and he wore that skull cap. We could never see his face. I remember as a kid going close to the television, sticking my nose up to the screen to try and see his face, and But your arrival was timed with the advent of cable television. Color television came into living rooms in India, right? And we could see Sachin's face from under the white hat. We didn't have to wait for a picture of Sachin Tendulkar in the magazine to see Sachin. We could see him out there on the field. You obviously kind of, you were just getting into the scheme of things at that time. What was going on in your mind? Every single passing year has been synonymous with the India growth story. You make your debut, I remember 1990, the government changes, 91, economic liberation, 92, cable TV comes in, your century happens. I mean, it's all, when you look back.
Little tough for me to step aside and say that, oh, this is what happened and all that. But, from my own experience, cricketing experience purely, I can tell you that the number of changes happened. And from the mid-90s, things change dramatically. In fact, when the 1996 World Cup was played in India, I could immediately notice there was a significant change as far as the standard of the stadiums was concerned, the playing surfaces was concerned. Grounds were in much better shape, and from there on things started changing. What I noticed in cricket, of course, the nation changed dramatically, but from a cricketer's point of view, young cricketer's point of view, I thought the infrastructure in our country started changing, and with the World Cup having played in India, that I thought that eagerness, those aspirations and youngsters wanting to chase their dreams was suddenly, it took off, the whole thing. And I felt, the next generation that we saw from 2000 to 2003 onwards, because they had played on better grounds, their style of fielding was also different. Though before that there were few natural fielders, but the rest, while diving or sliding, and I would like to include myself in the rest, because diving and sliding did not come naturally to me. I mean, I've practiced on grounds where, if you slide or you dive, you're kind of bandaging your elbow or the side of your thigh for a week, right, and can't afford to do that. So, one tried to stop the ball with the foot, and if it happened on those grounds, it happened. If not, then you have to go out and score 4 extra runs. That was the thought process. But those kind of changes happened, and then we started finding, fielders who were at a different level. I must say that everything started changing, and credit to BCCI for that. And then the birth of that change took place in 1996 is what I would say. One more important point as we speak I'd like to make is we also started seeing players from smaller parts of India, not the major 4-5 centers, and then there's some world-class players, I mean, who came from the other parts of India as well, and rightly so. But that happened because the infrastructure was there.
Right. And by then, cricket also had begun to promise the aspect of a career. I mean, I remember Zahir's story. This young engineering student coming from Shrierampur.
Yeah, exactly.
At that time, it used to like, ये लड़का कहाँ से वो Ahmednagar, there's a small town near Ahmednagar from where this boy comes, you know, and then an engineer in the making takes that leap of faith in life. And all of this was a result of the late 90s, that the boom that you're talking about?
Absolutely, because you, somewhere it has to start, and then you can, I mean, that initial push is really important, and then once you've set the ball rolling, then, you know, once in a while a gentle nudge is okay, and the ball starts rolling, ball continues to roll. But that initial push when the ball is not rolling is when the maximum effort is required, and that effort was in 1996 is what I feel.
Right. So post turn of the century, during that time is when Sachin goes on from Sachin to Sachin Paji. Now, from the outsider, as somebody chronicling this in hindsight, is that also the time when brand Sachin also moved on to become brand SRT? Or, you know, because this renewed.
To answer your first question, Sachin became Sachin Paji only because there were a number of guys from northern part of India,
Right.
and they started calling me Paji. So then it went to the extent where the rest of the guys also started calling me Paji, and guys from Mumbai also started calling me Paji. I would be like, "Arey yaar, तुम तो मुझे सचिन बोलो, तुम पाजी क्यों बोल रहे हो?" and all that. But no, that is your name now. So everyone started calling me Paji. And to answer your second question about brand Sachin, I only wore a cricketer's hat. I did not wear a marketing hat at all. So I don't know what the marketing guys were thinking from Sachin to SRT. You know, it was possibly from there end that all these things came up. Right. I was comfortable. I mean, it didn't make much of a difference because I would anyways have my initials on my hat, which was a cricket hat.
Right. And the reason I asked you this is because when I look back at things in hindsight, when I sit down to chronicle this, it was, in hindsight, this is so humongous in terms of not what it did to brand SRT, but what it did to the ecosystem. The entire ecosystem began to benefit with those initial footprints that you began to leave behind. Like in 1995, when you signed your first deal, you brought professionalism, you know, into the scheme of things. And in 2001, when you renewed the deal,
yep,
you kind of course, the professionalism bit continued, but then you opened up the floodgates for India to look at a new future from a sports perspective. Is when I think the mothers agreed to allowing their child to play cricket with a career perspective.
Yeah, I remember when I signed a contract in 1995, certain people didn't agree with that, and there were also opinions on that. Now I'm chasing money. In fact, it was the other way around. I wanted to be totally focused on cricket and nothing else. And that was a big moment in my life because it allowed me to only focus on cricket. With all said and done, you know, one may want to be focused on cricket, but if you've got pending things, you are bound to take some interest in those things and make sure that, you know, everything is aligned properly. I didn't have to do all those things. You know, before that, it was my brother who looked after everything, and my father would also at times get involved. But after that, you know, little bit here and there, family involvement was there. When I got married, then Anjali also became part of it. Her father would also sometimes take interest and help us out. So it was a big team working on it. But we knew that the major job was being handled by Mark and his team.
Moving on from 2001, couple of years later, to 2005 to be specific, I have this photographic memory which I can like kind of remember it like it happened yesterday. Is there was a Duleep Trophy match between West Zone and South Zone. in Hyderabad,
Correct.
in Uppal, the new
Correct.
stadium,
Correct.
which was still just coming up. The work was still going on.
Yes.
Now, it was a big match in terms of who all played it. There was Anil Kumble,
Anil was
BVS
there,
Lakshman, Rahul
Balaji,
Dravid.
all,
Exactly.
Rahul,
Zahir, all of them played.
Zahir,
But why
Ajit.
that? Yes, but why that match was so important is because you were making a comeback after the tennis elbow injury.
Correct.
What I remember very clearly in that game is that you got out of the car and it was a dark hallway, the Uppal Stadium hallway,
Correct.
because construction was still going on.
Yes, yes.
There were photographers inside. When you walked out of the car and you came in, that a bunch of photographers, the flashbulbs went, and it was daylight inside that hallway. I still remember it distinctly. And those shutterbugs, the noise that it made, this clicking sound of the camera.
Yeah.
The only other place I've seen it is inside a forest. When a tiger gets, the tiger sighting happens. What I'm saying is, like, you know, when you were coming back, it was such an important phase. Did anything in your career pull you down the way the tennis elbow injury did?
I think my back injury. My back injury troubled me a lot, and that continued for quite some time, almost 10 months or so. Though I played matches in between, but with a lot of pain, lot of discomfort. For almost 3 to 4 months, I slept in my hotel rooms between my bed and the cupboard, so that I could not roll onto my tummy. I had to rest my back completely, get my handbag and put couple of pillows inside my handbag and put those pillows under my knee so that the back would rest. Otherwise, back would constantly stay like this into spasm. So once I lifted my knees, the back would become flat and the back would rest. And that is exactly what the doctors had asked me to do. You know, taking painkillers as if there is no tomorrow, literally 3 painkillers a day. Before every session, I would take 1 painkiller and go and play. I pushed my body to the limit, and then I was also advised that I should undergo a surgery, a major surgery, which I was back in the 90s. You know, today with technology and multiple things happening around in medical field, back surgery is a big one, but not kind of the end of your career. But at that stage, you know, I was kind of so worried. I thought, you know, it could possibly be the end of my career. If the surgery goes bad, then I am struggling, because I have suffered so much where while standing, I could not even go and touch my knees. I couldn't bend at all. If I had to sit in a chair like this, it wouldn't be longer than 2 or 3 minutes at a stretch. I had to keep changing my positions, and you know, that was a nightmare. So possibly that, I would say.
In fact, if a diagram of a human body has to be drawn, and the number of injuries and the number of times that you suffered have to be probably marked on the diagram, I think it's the easiest lesson for a kid to understand what human.
Well, I mean, the number of injuries that I've had in my career, I am also kind of 50% doctor. 50% knowledge is dangerous, though.
Have you ever taken your doctors out for a meal? They deserve it.
I mean, I meet doctor friends. I mean, and now the ones who've treated me, they're friends, and you know, they've played a huge role in my life. All of them, the doctors, the physios, masseurs, you know, they've all played a big role in my life. You know, if they weren't around, and things would have been different.
What's your daily routine like as of today? You know, I mean, who better than you to answer what should be the cornerstone of a healthy lifestyle?
No set routine as such, but my simple formula in life is I can eat whatever I want, but not whenever I want.
Okay.
So once you strike that balance, then you're okay. On a lighter note, I used to tell my friends, you know, जिम में 10 मिनट ज़्यादा बैठो और डाइनिंग टेबल पे कम बैठो. That is another formula, But ideally, I would say yes, one needs to train, be active. If you don't want to go and train in a gym, you could go on walks, jog, whatever, play any sport. I feel every individual should pick up a sport, any sport that keeps you mentally healthy as well as physically. I think mental health is also equally important, which one ignores. So I think overall fitness is important. It's not just the looks, but what's happening inside body, more importantly inside your head. Right. How mentally fit are you? That is possibly even more important.
Sachin, these days when I watch T20 cricket, I tend to think that these matches, I don't know, correct me if I would love to understand what you think, is these matches lack any kind of recollection value. I remember growing up at a time when we would remember matches, and for that I don't mean it necessarily wouldn't have to be a 10-wicket haul or a big daddy 100 for me to remember a game.
Yeah.
Your innings in Auckland at 49 ball 82, for instance, against New Zealand, or the last wicket of Moin Khan. I'll never forget that for the rest of my life. That googly. And these do you think in T20 cricket the recollection value of a game is not the same as it used to be in cricket? And I'm wondering if this generation continues 20 years later, what next? I mean, what is
T20 format is full of action. Every ball, if not every ball, then every over for sure, people are expecting something to happen, something big to happen. Either a big shot or that reverse sweep or whatever over keeper's head, something the batters are going to try. Very, very rarely do we see that 2-3 overs are quiet overs. People are used to that action. So out of those multiple actions, whatever, how does one remember everything? Only the mega moments are going to be remembered. Just the other day, Rinku Singh hit 5 sixes in a row. That's going to be remembered. Because I still remember Carlos Brathwaite hitting 4 sixes in the last over. So those kind of things will always be remembered. Right. So I feel today's generation is such that we like to move quickly. I mean, a little bit impatient, if I may use that word. Right. We want quick results, and that is how it is, and that is how possibly the format is. It's a very fast moving format, and there only those mega moments are going to be remembered.
Talking about today's generation and formats, the first thing that comes to mind is how complicated is the sport becoming? Rules and rules, like across formats. I mean,
it's only becoming complicated because we continue to change rules. If we have a set of rules and we kind of stick to those rules, if they're working well, then it won't be that complicating. But to be fair, we also have 3 different formats. There are not many sports where you have different formats. I can't think of anything else. Very, very few, if at all. Tennis, you continue to play with the same set of rules, be it men or women. I mean, just the number of sets are reduced. Right. But the kind of rules that they play with, they're exactly the same set of rules. So cricket possibly might be the only one where there are 3 different formats, and the number of balls used, the number of overs you have to play with that particular ball. In Test cricket, it's minimum 80. Then ODIs now it's become 25, and T20. So number of fielders in the ring. Test, there is no restriction. So cricket is possibly the only sport which is slightly different to any other sport.
So existing rules changing, yes. I mean, that's an important point you make. But other than that, there are some rules which like umpire's call, for instance. When a decision has been referred to the TV umpire, third umpire, it is because the player is not satisfied with what is being.
Are you with me in the same boat?
I'm asking.
Well, I mean, I fail to understand honestly what they are thinking, honestly, because I feel if a ball is hitting any part of the stump, it's out. And that is for both teams, right? It's not that for team A you are using technology and for team B you are leaving it to the main umpire. No, once we go to the third umpire, it's a clear-cut indication to me that somebody on field is unhappy with that decision and doesn't agree with that decision. That's why they want to go upstairs. So why come back to the person whom they don't trust? And that's why they've gone up, right? They've taken the risk of challenging his decision, and if they don't get it right, they lose their review. So why do we come back again? We don't need to come back. Forget about the on-field umpire, with no disrespect. I know before all this happened, number of games where umpires made mistakes and it cost us a game. So we are worried about technology not being foolproof. If the technology is not foolproof, then you don't have it. And if you want to use it, then trust. We have to trust technology then. Right now what is happening, in the same cup, thoda chai dal do and thoda coffee bhi dal do. It's not that. For me, it doesn't work.
For example, 50% of the ball touching the stumps. How do you measure 50% of the ball? Like it could be 49% will not work.
I really don't understand. I mean, I find that really strange.
The reason why T20 came into focus was because a viewer was not able to dedicate 7.5 hours for a one-day game anymore.
Yep.
That consumption time had to be brought down, and that's why one thought that a T20 could suffice because it was a 3-hour game. Now this very T20 stretching into 4.5 hours, is that justice enough to what was the model that was designed?
See, the actual playing time for both teams put together is around 3 hours or so, and if a side is not keeping up with the timing and they're lacking behind, then that is where the penalty comes into play, and the penalty is there. To have one extra fielder in the ring is very, very harsh, and that is how a penalty should be. It cannot be a soft one. I mean, you have to pay a price for that.
Right. Sachin, hasn't there been a relative decline in batters who could bowl? From your time, I mean, you, Viru, Dada, Yuvi, there were so many who could just roll their arm over, and it was so effective. Maybe the sidearms are a common sight now. But are they finishing this concept of batters who could bowl? I mean, by the way, I don't see batters bowling in the nets also these days. That's another.
I really cannot answer for the current team. I don't know what's happening and the injury status or whatever that may be. But as far as the earlier generation was concerned, our generation, the names that you took, we bowled. I mean, we enjoyed, and I had a lot of fun. I can speak for myself.
And with great results.
That was, it happened, whatever, and then the most important thing was I enjoyed bowling right from my school days. I didn't want to be a spectator there, watch others play. I had to be there in the middle of action, and then I enjoyed, playing those mind games with a batter. I enjoyed doing those things, and we would set fields and play a mini match. So those kind of things I enjoyed. I really don't know. I'm not in a position to answer why these guys are not bowling. I really don't know.
To conclude this wonderful conversation, this is the year of the World Cup, so we cannot not talk about the format, which is the 50-over World Cup.
There is World Cup happening every year.
Oh yeah, there is a World Cup now every year. But again, a 50-over World Cup which is happening this year. Yeah. There is something that, again, it's been on my mind, and the fact that it's a format that in general has been in discussion in terms of, what is the future of the 50-over format. At a time like that, the World Cup in this format is happening in cricket's biggest market anywhere in the world, which is India. Maybe that's why I feel that the excitement is so huge and so much, But post this World Cup, do you think that there is a need to sit down and try and understand 50-over cricket once again from a wholesome all-round perspective and try and understand where this format needs to go into the future? And your thoughts on the World Cup also.
I hope that happens because to change the format, there are reasons for that, you know. And then I had kind of thought of this long time ago, and I'd shared these ideas also earlier. I felt that a coin cannot decide the destiny of that game, because just because you've lost the toss, you cannot be bowling second when there are dewy conditions. Bowlers cannot grip the ball, and side batting second, you know, unless they bat like, I mean, terribly, they will not lose. They have to just go and play normal cricket because the conditions are in their favor. Ball is not going to swing after maybe first 6-7 overs or 4-5 overs literally. Once the ball gets wet, it's not going to swing, neither will it turn. And with 5 fielders in the ring, there is hardly a bowler can do. And that, I feel, is a big imbalance between bat and a ball contest, because people come there to watch both. There should not be a day where there are 2 bowling machines at both ends and one side has to just outbat other batting side. So, I mean, I feel there has to be fair balance between bat and the ball, and that's the only reason I was suggesting that a side bats first for 25 overs, then the other team comes and bats for 25 overs, and wherever they have stopped in the first half of the game at 25 overs, the second half of the game they start from there. They don't start fresh. If they've lost 3 wickets, those 3 batters are out of the game. The remaining batters will bat in the second half. So you don't have 20 wickets, you only have 10 wickets. And it does a lot of things. It involves support staff, because otherwise what happens once the game has started, for 50 overs support staff cannot do, just keep sending few messages here and there, stand on boundary line and just tell the bowlers, oh, this is what I feel you should do. But you cannot bring the whole team together, have a brief meeting for 3-4 minutes and tell them, strategy A hasn't worked, let's move to strategy B. And so there'll be dynamism. That is missing today. It's becoming too monotonous, and even spectators know what's going to happen from over 15 to 35 or 40th over. They also know the pattern. But by introducing a newer format, sometimes, you know, there is an opening partnership, couple of right-handers are batting, and one guy gets out and your standard left-hander is number 3, and you are in the 23rd or 24th over, you will say, okay, the remaining 7-8 balls, I'm not going to send my left-hander because there are a couple of off-spinners bowling. And the left-hander proper batter would also think, why should I take undue risk for just 6-7 balls? You send number 9, number 10 and say that anyways, if at all, you get to play 5-6 balls. Treat these balls as 5-6 balls and just go and enjoy yourself. That also gives a different dimension to a cricket match. Spectators feel some action is going to happen. And then immediately you bring the other side in. So there are changes, but what it does is, if it's a rain interrupted game, then you would have had played first 25 overs and you would have played those 25 overs differently, knowing that second half of the game there might be a rain. So if there is rain round the corner, you adapt different approach.
Right.
So, you know, a lot of strategies will come into play.
I think I have an idea already. I think the patrons of the game need to gather in Bandra once every couple of months to just listen to you ideate and speak what goes on inside that brilliant mind of yours. Thank you so much, Sachin, for taking the time out and doing this lovely interview with us.
Absolute pleasure.
Much as I can, I need to stop it. I would have loved this conversation to keep going on, but while it can't, we wish Sachin Tendulkar a very, very happy 50th birthday, and I hope you enjoy this lovely conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.